In today's hyper-connected world, it's easier than ever to see what others are doing, achieving, and experiencing. While this can be inspiring at times, it often leads to a dangerous trap: comparison. We constantly measure our lives against the curated images and highlight reels of others, and this can have a devastating effect on our happiness. In this video, we'll dive into the psychology of social comparison and explore the practical steps we can take to break free from this destructive habit and cultivate a deeper sense of self-worth. If you're ready to stop measuring your life against others and start finding true contentment, this video is for you. We are wired to compare. From our earliest years, we learn about the world by observing how we measure up to others. Am I as fast as my friend? Can I draw as well as my sister? Do I have as many toys as my neighbor? As we grow, the objects of comparison shift, but the habit remains. We compare our grades to our classmates, our salaries to our colleagues, our relationships to those we see in movies or on social media. The problem is that these comparisons rarely lead to feelings of satisfaction or contentment. More often than not, they trigger a cascade of negative emotions: envy, resentment, inadequacy, and a pervasive sense of not enough. This is because social comparison, while a natural tendency, can become a toxic habit that erodes our happiness and prevents us from fully appreciating our own lives. The theory of social comparison. The concept of social comparison was formally introduced by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1954. His social comparison theory posits that individuals have an innate drive to evaluate themselves, to understand their abilities, opinions, and social standing. And since objective measures are often unavailable, we turn to comparing ourselves to others as a primary means of self-evaluation. Festinger originally proposed that people compare themselves to others who are similar to them. However, research has shown that we engage in various types of social comparison, depending on our motives and the specific situation. Upward comparison. This occurs when we compare ourselves to those we perceive as being better than us. For example, we might compare our career success to that of a high-achieving CEO or our physical appearance to that of a supermodel. Upward comparison can sometimes be motivating, inspiring us to strive for improvement. However, it more often leads to feelings of inadequacy, inferiority, and dissatisfaction, especially if the gap between ourselves and the comparison target seems too large. Downward comparison. This involves comparing ourselves to those we perceive as being worse off than us. For instance, we might compare our health to someone who is seriously ill, or our financial situation to someone who is unemployed. Downward comparison can temporarily boost our self-esteem, making us feel grateful for what we have. However, it can also lead to complacency and a lack of motivation for self-improvement. Lateral comparison. This happens when we compare ourselves to those who are similar to us in terms of age, social status, or other relevant dimensions. For example, we might compare our academic performance to that of our classmates, or our parenting skills to those of our friends. Lateral comparison can provide us with a more realistic assessment of our own standing, but can still trigger feelings of competition and rivalry. The dangers of social comparison. While social comparison is a natural human tendency, it becomes problematic when it turns into a chronic habit that dominates our thoughts and feelings. In today's world, several factors exacerbate this tendency, making social comparison an even greater threat to our happiness. The rise of social media. Social media platforms provide us with unprecedented access to the lives of others. We are constantly bombarded with curated images and carefully crafted narratives that showcase people's best moments, achievements, and possessions. This creates a distorted view of reality, where everyone seems to be living a perfect life. The constant exposure to these idealized portrayals fuels upward comparison and leaves us feeling like our own lives are inadequate in comparison. The culture of competition. Many societies emphasize competition and external validation as measures of success. We are taught to strive for the top, to be the best, and to constantly outperform others. This competitive mindset makes us more likely to engage in social comparison, as we are constantly measuring ourselves against others to assess our own worth and standing. The focus on materialism. Our consumer culture often equates happiness with the acquisition of material possessions. We are bombarded with advertisements that tell us we need the latest gadgets, the most fashionable clothes, and the biggest house to be happy. This materialistic mindset leads us to compare our own possessions and financial status to those of others, fueling feelings of envy and dissatisfaction. The illusion of control. We often fall into the trap of believing that we have complete control over our lives and that our outcomes are solely determined by our efforts. When we compare ourselves to others who seem to be more successful or happier, we may blame ourselves for our perceived shortcomings, leading to feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy. The constant engagement in social comparison can have numerous negative consequences for our mental and emotional well-being. Decreased self-esteem. When we constantly compare ourselves to those who seem better off, we may develop a distorted view of ourselves, focusing on our perceived weaknesses and shortcomings. This can lead to a significant decrease in self-esteem and a belief that we are not good enough. Increased anxiety and depression. The pressure to keep up with others and the fear of falling behind can trigger chronic anxiety and feelings of depression. We may become preoccupied with worries about our social standing, our achievements, and our future prospects, leading to a state of constant stress and unease. Envy and resentment. Comparing ourselves to those who have what we want can lead to feelings of envy and resentment. We may begrudge others their success, happiness, or possessions, leading to strained relationships and a sense of bitterness. Distorted perception of reality. Social comparison can distort our perception of reality, making us believe that everyone else is happier, more successful, and more fulfilled than we are. This can lead to a sense of isolation and a belief that we are somehow deficient or unlucky. Reduced gratitude. When we are constantly focused on what others have, we lose sight of what we have. This can diminish our sense of gratitude and prevent us from fully appreciating the good things in our own lives. Impaired motivation. While upward comparison can sometimes be motivating, it can also have the opposite effect. If the gap between ourselves and the comparison target seems too large, we may feel discouraged and give up on our own goals, believing that they are unattainable. Increased materialism. Social comparison can fuel our desire for material possessions, as we try to keep up with the Joneses and validate our worth through external markers of success. This can lead to a cycle of endless striving and dissatisfaction, as we constantly seek the next best thing. Decreased happiness. Ultimately, the constant engagement in social comparison erodes our overall happiness and life satisfaction. We become so focused on measuring ourselves against others that we fail to appreciate our own unique journey and the things that truly matter to us. Breaking free from the comparison trap. The good news is that while social comparison is a deeply ingrained habit, it is possible to break free from its destructive influence. By cultivating self-awareness, shifting our focus, and practicing self-acceptance, we can learn to validate ourselves from within and find contentment regardless of how we measure up to others. Here are some practical steps we can take. Cultivate self-awareness. The first step in breaking free from comparison is to become aware of when we are doing it. Pay attention to your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Do you often compare your appearance, achievements, or possessions to those of others? What triggers these comparisons? How do they make you feel? Journaling can be a powerful tool for self-reflection. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you identify patterns and triggers. You can also use mindfulness techniques to become more present and aware of your thoughts without judgment. Challenge your comparisons. Once you become aware of your comparisons, start challenging their validity. Are you comparing apples to apples? Are you seeing the whole picture? Are you focusing on your strengths or only on your weaknesses? Often, our comparisons are based on distorted perceptions and incomplete information. We may compare ourselves to someone's carefully curated social media persona, forgetting that they also have struggles and insecurities. We may focus on our own shortcomings while ignoring our accomplishments. Shift your focus to internal validation. Instead of seeking validation from external sources, learn to validate yourself from within. Recognize your own worth, regardless of how you measure up to others. Celebrate your unique qualities, talents, and accomplishments. Practice self-compassion by treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a friend. Remind yourself that you are human, that everyone makes mistakes, and that your worth is not contingent on your achievements or external validation. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to comparison. When we focus on what we have, we are less likely to focus on what we lack. Make a habit of regularly acknowledging and appreciating the good things in your life, no matter how small. You can keep a gratitude journal, express your gratitude to others, or simply take a few moments each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for. Focus on your own journey. Remember that everyone's life journey is unique. You are on your own path, with your own set of challenges, opportunities, and goals. Comparing yourself to others is like comparing apples and oranges. It's not a fair or meaningful comparison. Instead of looking sideways at what others are doing, focus on moving forward on your own path. Set your own goals, pursue your own passions, and celebrate your own progress. Limit your exposure to triggers. If social media is a major source of comparison for you, consider limiting your time on these platforms. Unfollow or mute accounts that make you feel inadequate or trigger negative comparisons. You can also be more mindful of the content you consume. Choose to follow accounts that inspire and uplift you, rather than those that make you feel bad about yourself. Cultivate genuine connections. Instead of focusing on superficial comparisons, invest in building genuine connections with others. Focus on appreciating their unique qualities, learning from their experiences, and supporting them on their own journeys. When we connect with others on a deeper level, we are less likely to compare ourselves to them. We see them as fellow human beings with their own strengths, weaknesses, and struggles, rather than as competitors or yardsticks for measuring our own worth. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness can help you become more present and aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This can help you to observe your tendency to compare yourself to others without getting caught up in it. By practicing mindfulness, you can learn to respond to your comparative thoughts with more awareness and less reactivity. You can choose to let them pass without letting them affect your self-esteem or your mood. Find inspiration without comparison. It's possible to admire and be inspired by others without comparing yourself to them. When you see someone who is successful, talented, or happy, try to appreciate their qualities without feeling like you are somehow lacking. You can learn from their example, draw inspiration from their journey, and use their success as motivation to pursue your own goals, without measuring your own worth against theirs. Celebrate the success of others. Instead of feeling envious or resentful when others succeed, practice celebrating their achievements. Recognize that their success does not diminish your own worth or potential. By cultivating a spirit of generosity and celebrating the success of others, you can create a more positive and supportive environment for yourself and those around you. Define your own values and goals. What truly matters to you in life? What are your core values? What are your personal goals? When you are clear about what is important to you, you are less likely to be swayed by external comparisons. Focus on living a life that is aligned with your values and pursuing goals that are meaningful to you, regardless of what others are doing or achieving. Remember that appearances can be deceiving. As mentioned earlier, people often present idealized versions of themselves to the world. What you see on social media or in public is not necessarily an accurate reflection of their reality. Keep in mind that everyone has their own struggles, insecurities, and challenges, even if they don't show them. Don't compare your behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's highlight reel. Focus on your personal growth. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on your own personal growth and development. Track your progress over time, celebrate your achievements, and identify areas where you can improve. Set goals that are challenging yet attainable, and focus on the process of learning and growing, rather than solely on the outcome. Seek professional help. If you are struggling with chronic social comparison and it is significantly impacting your mental health and well-being, consider seeking help from a therapist or counselor. A professional can help you identify the underlying causes of your comparison habit, challenge your negative thoughts and beliefs, and develop healthier coping mechanisms.